Okay. Well, we skipped over milk last week. It was a highlight of our Danube bike ride, so I want to go back and talk a bit about it. This is a stiff milk, or the Milk Abbey. What an impressive sight. This Benedictine abbey boldly stands on a rocky bluff 50 meters above the town, totally dominating the skyline. The original abbey was founded in 1089, but was rebuilt between 1702 and 1736. The abbey managed to survive the threats of the Napoleonic Wars and World War II, albeit with much damage. Today, it houses a school for about 900 pupils. We passed through a large courtyard leading into the abbey. I don't think this is a screen. Oh, just a minute. I think I want to go to a different screen.
Can you just repeat the name of the town that this is in?
Okay. Milk. Oh. Somehow I don't have the ones I wanted to show. Okay, I think we're okay now. Sorry. We passed through a large courtyard leading into the abbey. And then a second courtyard. This shows the restoration work being done to one of the towers. So this place had fallen into quite a disrepair during the World War II. And so it had to be refurbished to quite an extent. And this is the main courtyard as it was being refurbished. It was quite a mess after the war, and so it required a lot of work to have it restored. And this is what it looks like today. So it's become a very beautiful place. We also enjoyed a self-guided tour through the small town. It's a town of about 5,000 people. In a very small area, there's a great deal of architectural variety from many centuries. There are numerous murals that display the history of the town. This is the Rathaus, or town hall, built in 1575. The elaborate door is made of wood and copper. So we don't find a lot of copper in doors anymore. This is the Schiffsmeister house. On the wall, you see markings to show the high water levels. The Danube reached 15.8 meters above the usual water level in 1501, way up there. So 15.8 meters above the usual water level. That is just crazy. Now the water levels are much more controlled with numerous dams along the Danube River. We had hoped to go to Melk Abbey in the morning, but we couldn't stomach the idea of paying to go to church. So we declined. And now we're going to return to Krems, where we ended last week. So this is the map, starting at Krems for that day and going to Altenburg, which is just outside of Vienna. So we enjoyed a lovely breakfast in the dining room. It's really quite a fancy place for a couple of sweaty cyclists. Well, I guess it was morning, so we hadn't really worked up a sweat yet. And I'm sure we showered after our ride the day before. And this was really quite decorated. You can see a lot of things on the wall, a lot of decorations on the wall, and there were decorations everywhere. And so this is Austria, but it's also the land of the Schwein, just like kind of like Germany. Austria and Germany aren't really all that different, and people speak the German language. And they had a lot of decorations everywhere, and so many dolls. And like these were China dolls. So like my sisters, they used to have China dolls when they were kids, and they were really pretty nice. Except sometimes they got broken heads. And a lion guarding us. And this was a really big China doll. And yeah, they loved horses there too. Another big China doll. And then we enjoyed a stroll through the downtown area of Krems. Krems is a pretty fair-sized place. It's like it's a city. And then, oh yeah, there were these sort of plants that danced in the sun when the sunlight shone on them. And then we headed out along the beautiful Danube, which is now a very big river. And as we were biking along, we came by this. And it doesn't really look too roadworthy. Not sure why this car was abandoned here. And oh, it's got a motor in it still. And it's a BMW. So even BMWs don't last forever. I thought they had a reputation for quality, but this one I think was quite worn out. A little bit later, we came by this nuclear generating station. It looks like quite a nice big structure. And it's really green around this nuclear power plant, but actually it's not really a nuclear power plant. Construction was started on this nuclear generating station, but public opinion was against it, and a referendum stopped the project. It never was finished and is now a museum. Maybe the Green Party came to power in Austria. At any rate, this nuclear plant didn't fly. And there's quite a movement in Ontario now to get rid of nuclear plants. We went through some nice farmland with sort of like hobby farms, and there were geese around. This was near the community of Zwentendorf. It's a pretty little community. And a little bit later, we came into Tulln, and I must say that we were really hungry, and we stopped here at the Arches, and we were hoping for a goose burger, but we had to settle for a hamburger. And here is a very modern bridge across the Danube River, just by Tulln. And I think it's a pretty new bridge. It's really quite a nice work of art. Bridges across the Danube are becoming less frequent because they need to be so long and are expensive to build. This bridge looks very new and modern and services a major highway. Here is the Nibelungen Fountain. This shows Attila the Hun over here, and he's meeting Kriemhild and proposes to her. So I don't know if she accepted the proposal or not, but she probably did. And here we are at the hostel, Schwarzer Adler Gasthof, on the outskirts of Vienna. We had a very nice room here, and pretty small room compared to some of the places we had. And we were really hungry, but there was no food at the guest house. So we had to go out for an explore. And we explored quite a big area, but we really didn't find anything. We did find a church, but there was no supper, potluck supper being on. So we had to go to bed kind of hungry, thinking about what the hostel might serve for breakfast. And now Al is going to share his screen, and okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, Al, you're on.
I've got host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, are you okay? Are you okay? Does it work?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, okay.
I can get all your pictures out of there.
Oh, my pixels are all are there. Oh, yeah. Gee.
We're good.
Oh,
That's not the one I want.
no.
Where'd we go?
There. How's that?
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
We are now in Altenburg, which is right up here, and we've got about a 25-kilometer bike ride into Vienna. Very uneventful and beautiful ride along the Danube. We stopped at Kloster Neuburg, where there is a before we get to Kloster Neuburg, we got to tell you about this place. Stan and I rode past this, I guess you'd almost call it a warehouse. And we thought, geez, that looks interesting. So we stopped and went in, and you could buy just about anything in there. And most things were €1 or €2. So we picked up a couple of hats, a couple of soccer jerseys. I think, Stan, you bought a scarf as well, did you not?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we must have spent a good half hour in there. So for what looks like a fairly decrepit building, it was really quite fascinating on the inside, and well worth the stop. And it got us off the bikes for half an hour, 45 minutes. We went on to Kloster Neuburg. Again, this picture is one from BWAG. And again, I appreciate the fact that he made those pictures available to anybody that wanted to use them, as long as we gave him credit for it. So that's what I did. And that abbey or monastery is a 12th century Augustinian monastery, part of the Roman Catholic Church. It overlooks the Danube, and it was founded, as with so many other things in Europe, in 1114 by Saint Leopold III of Babenberg, who I'm sure we all know of. He was the patron saint of Austria, and it was he and his second wife, Agnes of Germany, that founded the monastery. We spent a little bit of time around the outside, and we were able to go inside as well. Beautiful, beautiful building. And as with so many of these churches and monasteries, the ornateness inside is really quite incredible. The painted ceilings, not quite up to Sistine Chapel standards, but just absolutely beautiful. it would really be nice to be there on a Sunday when there was a service on, but we weren't fortunate enough to have that particular opportunity. But a beautiful church. And the grounds, again, are spectacular. Our entrance into Vienna was not quite spectacular. We passed along the cycle path under this bridge guarded by 2 lions. And that was our entrance into Vienna. Stan did this watercolor the first night. No, he didn't. This is a depiction of Vienna from the Nuremberg Chronicles in 1493. And it gives you some idea of what the town might have looked like. What's that? That's almost 600 years ago. Finding our hotel has always been an interesting experience. And finding the Hotel Madrigan, which was really quite nice. It was on a major street. And if our directions had just guided us down the main streets, we would have found it directly. But the instructions that we had led us through less traveled streets. And again, street signs were few and far between. We had to ask a couple of German people as to where the street was that we were looking for. And I can do a little bit of German. I can do enough to say, we're looking for this street. Could you tell us where it is? And they immediately assume that I speak really good German and give us information that is not understandable at all. But we did ask one lady in a car as to where our street was. And again, fortunately, she said, it's right behind you. So we found the hotel and just a wonderful place. We stayed there 2 days, 2 nights, and not nearly enough time to see all that Vienna had to offer. The Ringstrasse, which is a 5.3 kilometer long circular grand boulevard, is a ring road around the historic inner town of Vienna. And on the road are located a lot of the major sites of the city. The road is located where the medieval city fortifications were once, where they once stood. And the ring road was constructed after dismantling those city walls in the 1800s. Those city walls, by the way, were built in the 13th century and were funded by the ransom payments that the Austrians got from release of Richard the Lionheart of England. And the ring road is designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The other unfortunate thing too, there's a 25-minute tram ride around the ring road, and it gives you an audio tour of the city's most important sites. And again, we did not have time being in Vienna for only 2 nights. We spent a lot of time walking around, but didn't have the opportunity to see Vienna in the depth that we would have liked to have seen it. This is the art museum. It's called the Kunsthistorische Museum or something along that line. It's a museum of art history, also referred to as the Museum of Fine Arts, and it is located on the Ringstrasse. It's the largest art museum in Austria and one of the most important museums worldwide. Again, it'd be nice to have said that we went in, but we spent most of our 2 days just sightseeing and didn't spend the probably 2 or 3 hours or most of an afternoon visiting the inside of some of these places. The facility was opened by the Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria in 1891, about the same time as the Natural History Museum, which is directly opposite the Art Museum, was opened. And the 2 buildings were constructed, as I say, between 1871 and 1891. Another interesting story on this, which So often you find out a lot of this history after the fact, but the statue here is of Maria Theresa, and her 40-year reign in Austria was considered to be probably one of the most successful when compared to the other Habsburg rulers, and her reforms transformed Austria into a modern state and gave it significant international standing. She was the only female ruler of the Habsburgs and ruled from 1740 for 40 years until her death in 1780 at age of 63. So again, a fascinating history that most of this information is on Google, and it's well worth looking into. We also spent some time at the Hofburg. That is the official residence and workplace of the President of Austria. Stan tried to get in and talk to him, but was rebuffed at the door. The Hofburg was formerly the principal palace of the Habsburg dynasty, and it is located in the center of Vienna, built in the 13th century. And it also served as the imperial winter residence of the Habsburg dynasty, with Schönbrunn Palace, which we'll see later, being the summer residence. The name Hofburg basically translates as Castle of the Court. And this building was initially planned as the 13th century seat for the Dukes of Austria. And the palace expanded over the centuries as the dukes became more powerful. It was the seat of the Habsburgs, kings and emperors between 1612 and 1806. And after 1918, the seat of other emperors of Austria. The palace today is the seat for the head of state and is used by the Austrian federal president. And it's been the seat of government since 1279. And again, the history in Vienna and in Austria, and really all along the Danube bike path, is really quite fascinating. It's a shame we found out more about this after the fact than while we were on the bikes. This is Karl's church. And again, it would have been nice to go in, but either we were not permitted to, or else again, there was a cost for going into a church, which both Stan and I sort of feel is somewhat inappropriate. But this is a Baroque church. It's widely considered one of the most outstanding in Vienna and one of the city's greatest buildings. It's approximately 200 meters from the Ringstrasse, and was built in 1713, 1 year after the Great Plague in Vienna. And Charles VI, who was the Roman emperor at the time, pledged to build a church for his namesake patron, which was the Saint Charles Borromeo, who was revered as a healer for plague sufferers. We could probably use him in Canada right now to help us with this COVID situation. But again, a beautiful building, wonderful surroundings, and just a very peaceful environment. Probably one of the highlights of Vienna is St. Stephen's Cathedral, or as they call it in Vienna, Stephansdom. It was initiated by Duke Rudolph IV in the middle 1300s, and stands on the site of two earlier churches that date back to 1147. And it is obviously the most important religious building in Vienna. During World War II, the cathedral was saved from intentional destructions at the hands of the retreating German forces. Hitler had told them to fire 100 shells at it and reduce it to rubble. But the captain of the German forces declined to do that and preserve the church as it is. Now, another interesting story, on the 12th of April, 1945, a number of civilian looters lit fires in the nearby shops around the cathedral as the Soviet army troops entered the city. And the winds carried the fire to the cathedral, damaged the roof, and caused it to collapse. The protective brick shells protected the pulpit and Frederick III's tomb and other treasures that were within the church. Absolutely gorgeous interior. The cathedral has 23 bells in total. We didn't hear any of them ringing. But again, another interesting story there. The original bell was cast in 1711 from cannons that were captured from the Muslim invaders. On the April 12th, 1945 looting, the fires that hit the shops caused the roof to collapse and the bell went down, and they recast some of the metal to build a new one. The carvings and the sculptures that are virtually everywhere within the church, again, are quite spectacular. Be interesting to know if we would have the talent to do some of that work these days, much less the money to pay for it. Again, just so many beautiful, beautiful works of art. Any one of them would be spectacular, and they are almost too numerous to include all of them. And again, stories behind each one of them that would be nice to know more about. Where's my screen gone?
I
There we
see it.
go.
Yeah.
There we go. We're back. We must have gone into St. Stephen's a couple of times, probably once each day that we were there. And there was always more to see. Belvedere Palace was next up. I don't know, Stan, if you saw Belvedere Palace or not.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but again, another beautiful spot. It's a Baroque palace that was built as the summer residence of Prince Eugenie of Savoy, and was built during a period of extensive construction in Vienna during the Habsburg dynasty. Belvedere Palace consists of two major parts, the upper palace and the lower. And again, the grounds are spectacular. And I think Stan and I were probably there at different times, but I don't know if you went in, Stan. I did not. The grounds themselves can easily occupy an hour or so. Construction of Lower Belvedere, that's that one, or that's upper. Construction of Upper Belvedere began in 1717, and the building was completed 6 years later in 1723, which is quite incredible when you consider the magnitude of the work. And Upper Belvedere, yeah, that's the other side of Upper Belvedere. Beautiful gardens and a very relaxing place. The highlight of Vienna really is Schönbrunn Palace. It was the main summer residence of the Habsburg rulers. For those of you that enjoy cleaning the house, you'd enjoy this place. There's 1,441 rooms.
Hmm.
And that would take you most of the day, I would think, if you're
Mhm.
speedy.
Hmm.
But just a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. Maureen and I were there, how long ago? Oh, 6 years ago, and spent quite a bit of time on the inside. I don't know, Stan, did you go in?
No.
No, so again, the grounds are spectacular and you can only do so much in a day. And certainly you can only do so much in the 2 days that we had in Vienna. But spectacular grounds, gardens are beautiful. The gardens were considered to be an expression of the ruler's status. And so they generally related to the architecture of the palace and an extension of the interiors. As you can see, we had a gorgeous day. A little bit of cloud, which sort of added to the overall impression of the place. Now, this is really quite interesting. This picture gives you a pretty comprehensive view of the gardens and the Neptune fountain and what is called the Gloriette at the back. The Gloriette, which is that building there. Again, there's another view from the gardens. From the Neptune fountain. Again, there's stories behind all of these sculptures, and that time just doesn't allow us to get into thoroughly. But the Gloriette, that was built in 1775. It was the last building constructed, and it was to serve as a focal point and a lookout point for the garden. Franz Joseph I used it as a dining hall and a festival hall, and believe it or not, that's where he had breakfast. The dining hall was used up until the end of his monarchy, and today there's a cafe right in there. And the roof is an observation platform that you're welcome to go up and have a look. It was destroyed during the Second World War, but was restored by 1947 and again in 1995. And that's the view from the Gloriette looking back down towards the palace itself. I think I know I spent at least an hour and a half, and I'm sure Stan did too, just wandering the grounds and appreciating everything. And when Maureen and I did the tour on the inside of the palace, that again must have lasted 3 hours. Yeah, about a 3-hour tour. And that was basically the end of our 2 days in Vienna. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time and one of the highlights of the trip. And as I say, it's just a shame that, not a shame, because there's really no choice. It would have been nice to have had more time to really get to know the city and appreciate all that it had to offer. But it was a wonderful 2 days. And that summarizes our trip from Altenburg down to Vienna with a stop at Klosterneuburg and our warehouse stop along the way. So Stan,
Okay.
I'll turn it back to you.
Right. Okay. Oh, am I on? Can you hear me? Oh,
You're on.
yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Vienna to Bratislava. This is Friday, September the 27th. So after a delicious breakfast at the Hedrigen Hotel, we set out across Vienna on our way to Bratislava. It took a while to get through the big city. We went right through the center of the city. I was glad to have gotten a charging cord for my phone in Vienna, so now I could use it to navigate once more. On the outskirts of Vienna, there was a lot of industry along the Danube. This photo looks like Sarnia's Chemical Valley with imperial oil storage tanks. This must be the widest paved bike path I have ever been on. It looks really wide for bicycles, and it wasn't very busy. Now the path heads out of the city into the farmland. It's as flat as Lambton County. I chatted with a
Could I
farmer
interject
who
here,
was
Sam, for a
harvesting.
minute?
Pardon? Yeah, go ahead.
Could I interject? Can I interject here for a
Oh,
second?
yeah, sure, for sure.
Yeah, could you go back to that picture going through
Oh,
the
yeah.
Vienna woods there?
Yeah. Yeah, that one?
No, the previous
Oh.
one.
Oh, the previous one.
Yeah.
That one? No, previous. Huh?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just a quick story on that. That was just an absolutely gorgeous ride. And we could
Yeah.
have gone forever along there, and we almost started to.
Yeah.
And there was a point when I thought, I'm not quite sure whether we should still be on here. And there were, what, 3 German guys coming the other way?
Oh,
You remember that? And we
no.
stopped and asked them. I showed them our map and
Oh, yeah.
asked them where we were.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you want to turn right about
Oh.
here. And we had
Oh.
to make a left turn off there. But that
Yeah.
was just a beautiful, beautiful place to cycle or jog or just
Oh,
go
yeah.
for a walk, wasn't it?
It was so
Yeah.
effortless. And
Yeah,
like the leaves
yeah.
were just turning. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no
Back-
problem.
There you
No
go.
problem.
Okay.
Thanks. I appreciate that commentary. And so here's a guy harvesting potatoes with a really big machine, and a big tractor. They have big factory farms there, just like we have here in Ontario. And I chatted with the farmer who was running this equipment, and guess where the potato crop is going? To McDonald's. Austrians love their French fries. Even if they're not like our French fries under the bridge, they still have a taste for French fries. So we cycled through the beautiful Danube National Park along the Danube. This is one of the last remaining floodplains of the Danube in Middle Europe. This park protects 93,000 square kilometers of lowland forests, meadows, and wetlands. There are estimated to be over 5,000 species of organisms living in this protected area. Now, that's not just big animals, but that includes insects and everything. So but still a lot of species. So that's not really a wonderful picture, just a signpost, but that's what I have. Yeah. So after entering Slovakia, we soon caught sight of Bratislava. This is the capital and largest city of Slovakia with a population of about 700,000. The area predates the Roman era and was once part of the vast Hungarian Empire. Today, it is the home of a large Volkswagen operation, as well as high-tech companies, including IBM and Dell. So after cycling around the spiral, we reached the deck of the bridge and crossed the Danube. And this is the hostel where we came. We soon reached the boutique Postonium, where we had booked a room. Al is using his phone to gain access to the building. There was a nice yard in the back for our bikes where the hosts were hanging out. They were cutting hair back there and offered to cut mine, but I declined. And we had a huge room in the attic, decorated with a hunting motive, a real man's cave. We waited here for my nephew, David, who was taking the train along with his bike from Brno, Czech Republic. And he's with us tonight on this Zoom meeting. We didn't wait long till we heard a knock at the door, and in walked David. We were all really starved, so Davis led it to a wonderful pub where we enjoyed outstanding Slovakian food before setting in for the night. And actually, this is the picture on our Facebook page. So, David, do you want to unmute yourself and say anything about your?
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted.
You're unmuted. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just trying to think. Like that was I was like that was on a Friday, wasn't it? So I think I was working regularly.
yeah, it was a
5
Friday.
o'clock,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then by about like 7 o'clock in the evening, I had finished work, gone down to the train station, got on a train, took a train to Bratislava, and found the hostel, which was pretty much next to the train station, and it was all quite straightforward actually. Meeting up with you guys, although I wasn't sure ahead of time if there would be some snags, but anyway, it worked out real quick and it was easy.
So had you been to this pub before?
No, well, basically I had I think I found out about it by talking to the girl at the reception in the hotel. Like I was just kind of asking for some ideas, but like Sharka actually works in Bratislava, so she had some ideas as well.
Uh-huh.
But I think her ideas were kind of like a little bit far from the train station and from where we were situated in the city, so it just didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
But the girl at the reception recommended this place as being a Slovakian pub, as being a place to get sort of original Slovakian food at a decent price and whatever. Yeah.
Well, it was a very good choice. Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
So this is the next day. The next day, we went from Bratislava to. I hope I'm saying this right, David. You say Gyor? Gyor?
Yeah, GY is actually pronounced like a D.
Yeah,
Gyor.
Gyor. Okay, Gyor. From Gyor to Gyor, Hungary.
I'm just going to say Gyor.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm going to try to say Gyor. So we enjoyed a visit to the farmer's market. Oh, I don't see that picture.
I remember that bridge.
Yeah, no, but I wanted to see the farmers. Oh, I guess I don't have a picture of it. Sorry. Okay, we enjoyed a visit to the farmers market near the hostel with delicious coffee and pastry for breakfast. Slovakian food is superb. You know, we were so hungry, we just wolfed down and didn't have time to take any pictures. Well, this is the bridge. We crossed the modern bridge across the Danube, one of several bridges, and headed out in a light drizzle. It was nice to have a dedicated bike path along the bridge. We cycled through flat farmland and soon crossed the border into Hungary. As we approached Mosam-Megi Arovar, hope I'm saying that right, we realized we were very hungry. David found the perfect spot for lunch. So here we are, sitting down. And Al was studying the menu. David knew exactly what we should have. We were hungry, so we needed to enjoy Hungarian goulash. Isn't that what you have in Hungary? It makes me hungry. We hung around for a while until the rain let up. We soon needed to stop again, and here's why.
And here's why?
Here's why.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Wonderful Hungarian. I guess that's coffee with a,
It's
nice
coffee with whipped cream, isn't it?
whipped cream topping on it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was really nice coffee.
I think they call that Viennese coffee for some reason.
Oh, Viennese coffee. Okay. So we're close to Vienna. And
Yeah,
what was
we're
that
close
you're
to
having there,
Vienna.
David?
Well,
Some kind of a milkshake, I guess. Is it?
I think it's some kind of coffee as well. I think.
Oh,
it's
coffee. Yeah, they had lots of different coffees there.
I think it's
And
called-
oh, look at the pastries they had there. Wasn't that wonderful? And look at all the ice creams they had there. So many different flavors, and they were all displayed so nice. And they all look so nice and creamy.
Mm.
So we had to make some really tough choices. And I think David wanted to try every kind of ice cream they had. So like he's eating 2 ice cream cones at once.
I think both of those were yours. I was just holding them so you could take. The
Oh, were they? Okay, yeah. Well, I was wondering what you had too. Yeah, all right. Thanks. So now we reached Gyor and a few pictures of Gyor. The river here splits into 2 parts. And yeah, steel bridge across the Danube leading into the city. We reached Gyor in late afternoon, crossing the Danube on a large steel bridge. This area dates to pre-Roman times. The Magyars settled this area around 900. It has suffered much adversity, being invaded by the Mongols in 1241, destroyed by the Czech army in 1271, then occupied by the Ottomans in 1541. In World War II, large-scale Allied bombing raids destroyed industrial and residential areas, as well as the airport. So it was a pretty major manufacturing center back then. Today, Gyor is a major manufacturing center. Over 90% of Audi vehicle engines are made here in a factory having a solar roof, producing nearly 10 gigawatt hours of electricity per year. That sounds quite green. Now they just need to stop making gasoline engines and make electric vehicles if they want to be really green. Soon we reached the Fonte Hotel. And here's our room. We had a really big attic room again, and lots of room to spread out our stuff. It was really very spacious for only 3 people. What a wonderful place to get rested up for the day ahead. So tune in next Sunday at 7 again for the last episode of the Danube bike ride as you travel from Gyor to Budapest. I'll stop the recording now and we'll just chat. Oh, stop the recording.
I'm going to throw in a couple